Welcome back to Court TV Live. Matt Johnson sitting next to Judge Ashley Wilcott on this Wednesday. Thanks for being with us. Where it's day 2 of testimony in Wisconsin for caught in the Crossfire murder trial. And then 14-year-old Parise Larry Jr. is facing up to life in prison if this jury convicts him in the shooting death of 20-year-old Tatyanna Zech. She was shot in the head while taking out the trash after a cookout at her apartment complex. 3 others were also injured in that deadly shooting. All right, let's go back to court now. A detective is going over photos of evidence found at the scene.
So underneath the window frame, there's going to be a little defect kind of in the middle of the 2 curtains.
And now we've moved to photo MC4, and can you describe to the jury what we're seeing here as I've zoomed in a little bit?
So that is going to be the bullet defect in the interior of that bedroom. That was designated as I1, and that's just going to be the height of the bullet defect from the ground to about approximately the center of the hole.
Thank you.
50.
And Detective Chevremont, I'm showing you a document marked Exhibit 50, a 1-page document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that as?
That is where indications of the bullet strikes, the heights and the distances, and any kind of miscellaneous notes regarding the measurements.
And were these measurements that you personally performed?
Yes.
And is that an accurate listing of the different measurements from the bullet strikes that you measured?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would offer Exhibit 50 with permission to publish.
Any objection?
Well, again, I think this is a summary of evidence.
And Your Honor,
but the witness did say that this was created from his information. Is that right?
Yes.
So then I don't object.
Court will receive Exhibit 50. You have permission to publish.
and so Detective Chevremont, you have Exhibit 50 in front of you, correct?
Yes.
If you get asked about the distance or height of measurement, just if you're referring to Exhibit 50, just let us know that, please.
Yep.
And now we're moving to MC5, and what are we seeing here?
A measurement from, that would be from the west wall of the bedroom. So it's approximately 57 inches from the west wall to approximately about the center of the bullet hole.
And MC6 looks like that's kind of a similar photo.
That is correct.
And MC7, what are we seeing here?
That is going to be a bullet defect that we observed just outside of apartment number 3. We designated that as letter H, and that is approximately 30.5 inches up from the ground.
And when you say we, what I want to make sure you're doing is testifying to what you observed or did. I know sometimes it's just habit to say that, but just focus on what you specifically did or observed, please.
Yes, that is my photograph. That's what I observed and took measurements of.
And this is approximately 3 feet up from the ground, and again on the apartment number 3?
Yes.
Moving on to MC8, and this looks like the same bullet strike, just with the measurement with the width.
That is correct.
And MC9, what are we seeing here?
I tried to end up getting a closer photo of the bullet strike on the bottom of the window edge. Just trying to get a closer up photograph of that.
And then MC10.
So when a bullet enters, for in this case from the exterior to the interior, I designated that as letter I. That is a close-up photograph that I took of the bullet hole.
And then did you find or recover any other evidence from this apartment at a later time?
Yes.
And when was that?
On May 22nd, we recovered a bullet.
You said we again. I want to know what you specifically did.
I recovered a intact bullet from the floor of apartment number 3 on May 22nd.
And when you say floor, we're talking first floor, second floor?
It'd be the second floor, just pretty much under where the bullet hole was in the interior of the bedroom.
And Your Honor, from that 894-3 folder, there's another folder labeled one bullet found later, requesting publication to the single image within that folder, MC11.
Any objection?
No.
And that is now up on the screen. And Detective Chevremont, is this the recovered bullet that you just referenced?
Yes.
And now within that same Exhibit 1, that 7, Chevremont folder, I'm moving to the folder 894-5. There are files labeled MC12 through MC18 requesting permission to publish.
Any objection?
No.
Go ahead.
And so, Detective Chevremont, now we're into the apartment number 5 at the 894 building, is that correct?
Yes.
And so now bringing up the MC12 folder, or file, excuse me, what are we seeing here?
That is a bullet that entered apartment number 5. That bullet was designated as A3 due to its travel, and that's just kind of a overall measurement of that bullet hole.
And does Exhibit 50 reflect the height from the ground from this bullet hole?
Yes.
And what would that be?
According to Exhibit 50, the height from the ground is 26.5 inches from the ground and approximately 13 3/4 inches from the west wall of that apartment.
And moving to photo MC13, this is, again, that same bullet strike, just showing the measurement?
Yes.
And then MC14, again, that same bullet strike, just a different measurement?
That is correct.
And now we have MC15. What are we seeing in this image?
So in this photograph, you're looking at the couch. This would be on the first floor in the living room, so it would be the opposite end of where the bullet that came in through the wall. There is a small, you would see a rip in the far arm of the couch.
And is that the defect in the upper right area of that far arm where the cursor is circling?
Yes.
And moving on to MC16, that would be a close-up of what we just saw from MC15.
That would be correct.
And then to MC17, that's an even closer up where you've now got that strike labeled as A4.
That'd be correct. That'd be 2, but would be determined as 2 scale.
And then were there any fired bullets recovered in this 894 Unit 5?
With assistance from Detective McKeela, Kim and I were able to remove an intact bullet from that cushion.
And moving to MC18, what are we seeing here?
That intact bullet that was removed from the arm of the couch.
And Your Honor, from the Exhibit 1, the 7, Chevremont folder, I'm now opening the folder 894-6, and there are images labeled MC19 through 35 requesting permission, MC35, excuse me, requesting permission to publish.
Any objection?
No.
Go ahead.
that picture we were talking about, in case you're just joining us, that's actually the officer's screensaver or the prosecutor's screensaver there as they're going over this evidence. But wow, Judge Ashley, I mean, more than a dozen casings were recovered from this area, and look at all the innocent people that were in harm's way, found in the couch, found in the walls.
Without regard for human life is what it says to me. I just have to comment, if I were the prosecutor, I would have worked with him to get that screensaver down before you're dealing with a murder trial. Just my thought.
Yeah, and also maybe it changes your mood too when you're on a serious matter, like to your point, and where you should be in your mindset. All right, so we are going to take a short break right now. When we come back, more testimony out of Wisconsin in the Caught in the Crossfire murder trial playing out there. We'll be right back.
Court TV Live. We are in Wisconsin for the Caught in the Crossfire murder trial of Parise Larry Jr.
Larry was only 14 when police say he and another teen shot and killed 20-year-old Tatyanna Zech while she was taking out the garbage. Investigators say that the teens had meant to shoot somebody else, but she was caught in the crossfire. 3 others were also injured in that shooting.
The other teen, Antonio Johnston, pled guilty to murder earlier this year, as well as 8 other counts, and he is awaiting sentencing. We do expect him to testify, Matt, at some point during this trial.
I would imagine as to that being the reason why he hasn't been sentenced yet.
I bet you are correct. All right, let's go back into court together now. We are listening to a detective go through all of the bullet holes and other evidence that was found at the scene of the shooting.
And now we're putting up the MC-19 photo. And Detective Chevremont, what is this photo signifying?
This is the door that leads into apartment number 6.
And is there a number 6 that's visible in the image somewhere?
Yes, if you kind of look up towards the upper left-hand corner, there's going to be a number 6 underneath the light.
And moving to MC-20, what are we seeing here?
Just the kind of an overall exterior photograph of apartment number 6.
And how many floors does apartment number 6 cover?
2 floors.
And is that consistent with all of the apartments in that building?
Yes.
Being 2 floors?
Yes.
And moving to MC-21, what are we seeing here?
This is going to be a photograph of a bullet hole that I designated as number or letter A for apartment number 6. That is going to be a photograph of the bullet hole to scale.
And where was that location?
That would have just been to the west of the patio door.
And then MC-22, we've got a marking that looks like it's labeled A2. And where was this located?
That would be in the interior on the first floor in the living room. A is going to be considered, or I'm sorry, A2, that's going to be the far kitchen. So that's going to be the opposite end of the living room, and that's going to be into the kitchen. That's where the bullet entered from the exterior and ended up into the kitchen wall.
And does Exhibit 50 represent the measurements of the height from the ground and distance?
Yes.
And could you, what does Exhibit 50 reflect for A2?
A2, the height from the ground is 2 feet and 2 3/4 inches, and the distance from the corner of the west wall, 1 foot and 1 5/8 inches.
And moving to MC-23, this is another view of the A2 with the width measurement.
That'd be correct.
And now MC-24, can you describe what we're seeing here to the jury?
That would be a bullock strike. That's an overall, or it's a close-up photograph of a bullock strike in the brick of apartment number 6. And
we have MC-25. Can you explain to the jury what we're seeing? There's a marker 31.
So marker 31 indicates that we found a deformed bullet on top of that A&W plastic canister.
And is that essentially right above the stick and to the right of where a straw would poke through?
That is correct.
And so right where the mouse is circling here?
Yes.
And moving to MC 26, and can you explain with evidence marker 32 what we're seeing here?
So as DA Tony pulls in, there's going to be a metallic metal fragment on top of the weeds right there. So it'll be a metal fragment from a bullet.
So we're zoomed into 275% right now, and so the fragment is like on top of the weeds on to the left side that's being circled now by the cursor.
Yes.
And now to MC 27, what are we seeing here?
This is going to be a photograph of the bullet entering the apartment. So this is going to be on the living room. So it's going to be on the north side. This is the living room portion of apartment number 6. The bullet entered through A, and this is where it enters the apartment, which is designated as A1. And this is going to be an overall or close-up photograph of the bullet hole to scale.
And can you, from Exhibit 50, describe the height from the ground and distance?
That's going to be about 9 inches off the ground and about 4 feet 7 inches from the corner of the east wall.
And moving to MC 28, what are we seeing in this image from apartment or unit number 6?
So this is going to be a second floor bedroom. This is kind of a photograph that faces the northeast corner. There's multiple beds in that bedroom, and I'm more kind of focusing it into the northeast corner where there's a red substance on the bed sheets.
And did you have contact with any residents at the 894 unit number 6?
Yes.
And who did you identify as residents there?
I spoke with the son. I did not get his name, but he indicated that his dad was sleeping in that bedroom when it happened.
And we're not going to get into what he told you, just if you identified anybody. So thank you. And moving to MC 29, what are we seeing in this image?
The red substance on the bed sheets, and then to above that, where a bullet hole just right above the bed.
And can you just walk down and point out the bullet hole that you're referencing for the jury?
Sorry for my fingers.
And so you're to the edge of the, as we're looking at the photo, the upper left area where the bed ends, that defect in the circular defect in the wall?
Yes.
You can grab a seat, thank you. And MC 30, what are we seeing in this image?
The bullet hole.
That you just pointed out from the previous photo, MC 29?
Yes.
And MC 31, what are we seeing here?
So that's going to be the window for the bedroom. There is a bullet hole behind the blinds.
And MC 32, what is being shown here?
That is another bullet hole. That's going to be on the south side, or on the south wall of the apartment. That is a bullet hole that came from the window.
And MC 33, what are we seeing here?
Another bullet strike on the siding, or the metal siding of apartment number 6.
And then MC 34, what is this?
Another bullet strike of kind of on the metal siding of apartment number 6.
And MC 35 now.
Another bullet strike on the metal siding of apartment number 6.
And now, Your Honor, from the Exhibit 1, that's Chevremont folder, I'm moving to the folder within that labeled 894-7. And within that, folder, there are...
Still with us, former Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. Philip, let's talk a little bit about the strategy and how they're presenting the evidence. Matt and I were just speaking about his observation that so far they've really been presenting law enforcement and that aspect of the investigation. We haven't yet heard from victims, and we haven't yet heard from a co-defendant, Antonio Johnston, that we mentioned, that has pled guilty. He's not yet been sentenced, and I would expect he will be called to testify against this defendant. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt that he's going to be put on the stand. But the truth be told, I don't think that Antonio's competent to testify as to what this other minor's intent was at the time of the crime, to be fair. And I do find this police testimony somewhat tedious right now, but I think it's necessary for the jury, because when you look at all the strike marks on the property, the number of casings recovered, and where the strike marks actually landed, this area was a veritable kill zone. And I think the jury can infer an intent to kill. It would be one thing maybe if a tree got hit or they found casings where shots were fired into the ground. But when you have shots fired directly into a threshold where people come and go, it looks as if you're aiming for heads and chests, which are obviously the most lethal sort of areas. And I think it's necessary to show that intent unless and until they bring somebody on to testify to what, if anything, he said, maybe during a police interview, on social media, or maybe at a previous hearing.
What do you think the defense looks like in a case like this? I mean, maybe there was an opportunity, I'm not quite sure, to not even go to trial for this case. But, you know, he was 14 at the time of the alleged crime. What does the defense look like in your opinion?
Well, part of this young man's problem is Wisconsin law. And it's one of the few states in the country where if you are 10 years old, you can, at the election of the prosecution, be tried as an adult for murder. They don't have to file it as a murder, but they can at the tender age of 10. I personally think at most this is a reckless homicide. And a first degree in Wisconsin, I believe, carries up to 60 years, and a second degree is up to 25. This case should have settled for a second degree reckless. I think his best shot is to argue that there was never an intent to kill, but I think his problem is because he was there even with a quote unquote BB gun, he looks like an accomplice to the underlying murder. And accomplice liability attaches even to juveniles in the state of Wisconsin. So even though he might not have harbored that intent, the jury can infer that intent just from being with the actual shooter and being at a scene where all these bullets are flying. So he really could go down under an aider and abetter theory as opposed to being the actual shooter. But this should settle, in my opinion, for reckless homicide. And I realize it's late, we're well into the game, but prosecutors are probably always open to negotiations, particularly if you're not asking for a misdemeanor, a hug and an apology. If the kid is asking for a hard time, I'm sure they would sit down at the table.
And I think the accomplice liability is the issue for this particular defendant. We're going to see what the jury ends up doing. We'll take a break here. Coming up next, though, we'll have more of the Caught in Crossfire murder trial for Parise Leary Jr. Don't go anywhere on Court TV.
Tonight, on Closing Arguments, another dramatic day of testimony in the toddler-stabbed murder trial. We're breaking down the biggest moments as this case moves forward.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
A wife accused of murdering her prominent attorney husband, and the defense involves blaming her own sons?
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. New episode Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
And what you're going to hear is 14 gunshots. You're going to hear about the impact of those 14 gunshots. You're going to hear from Fond du Lac County Medical Examiner Adam Kovac that Tatyanna Zech, 18 years old, was in, and you'll see a video of this as well, in the parking lot of the Maplewood Commons between two of the buildings with a group, and a bullet struck her in the head and she died from a single gunshot wound.
Now back to Wisconsin for more testimony in Caught in the Crossfire murder trial.
Parise Larry Jr. was just 14 when police say he and another teen shot and killed Tatyanna Zech while she was taking out the garbage. 3 others were injured.
Investigators say that Zech was an innocent bystander who simply got caught in that crossfire. Let's get you back into that courtroom now, where the jurors still are listening to investigators lay out all the evidence of this case. Very important. Let's watch.
And within that folder, there are digital images labeled MC36 through MC41, requesting permission to publish.
Any objection?
No.
Go ahead.
And Detective Chevremont, I now have image MC36 on the screen. And what are we seeing here?
It's going to be a photograph of a bullet strike on the metal siding of apartment number 7.
And MC37 is now up. What is this image reflecting?
That is going to be the bullet hole. That's going to be in a bedroom on the 2nd floor of apartment number 7.
And then MC38?
That is going to be the same bullet hole in that bedroom on the 2nd floor.
And this is now labeled F1?
Yes.
And then MC39 looks like similar to the other photo. It looks like a duplicate. My apologies. Fair to say that's a duplicate from one of the photos we just saw?
Yes.
And MC40 again looks like one we've seen. And so moving to MC41, what are we seeing here?
F2 is where the bullet continued into a picture frame.
And then during the investigation, did you also collect evidence from any vehicles that would have been parked at the Maplewood Commons at the time of the shooting?
Yes.
And what do you recall the type of vehicle?
It had been a white Chevy Malibu.
And where did you process that vehicle for any potential evidence?
We have an off-storage site on North Main Street where we take this vehicle is towed to, where it kind of gives us the room, the capability to, collect evidence or store our vehicles that we need to keep.
And within that Exhibit 1, the 7, Chevremont folder, I've moved to the folder labeled Vehicle. Your Honor, requesting permission to publish the digital images in that folder labeled MC43 through MC52.
Any objection?
No.
Go ahead and publish.
And so, Detective Chevremont, I now have MC43 up on the screen. Is this the vehicle you just referenced that you processed?
Yes, it is.
And moving to MC44, what was the purpose of this photograph?
I'll take overall photographs of the exterior of the car, kind of make my way around the front, cover all the angles of the car. This one particularly on the front passenger side window, you can see that the window is starting to become shattered. It's broken.
And moving to MC45, what are we seeing in this image?
So this image covers kind of overall photograph of the vehicle. In this photograph, you can see in the C-pillar a bullet strike kind of in the middle of the C-pillar.
And for those that may not be familiar with that term, when you say C-pillar, what do you mean?
Kind of the back pillar of the car. So the front is usually A, there's usually the middle car is a B, and the back is a C. So where that bullet hole, we would consider that the C-pillar, and that is where we found a bullet strike.
And that would be this area then where the mouse is, or cursor circling here?
Yes.
And that's on the rear passenger side?
That is correct.
And now we have MC46. What are we seeing here?
This is just a photograph of the rear car. Usually I like to take the photograph with the license plate, which matches the car. Underneath the letter A and March, there is a bullet hole kind of at the bottom of the trunk.
And would that be kind of now the area where the mouse is circling that you just described?
Yes.
And now we're moving to MC47, and what are we seeing in this image?
You can see where part of the front passenger window is damaged. Kind of in the weather stripping in the black, there is kind of a bulge.
And moving to MC48, what is this image depicting?
Just bullet fragments that were found in the trunk.
And MC49?
Just what we use as a trajectory rod, indicating that the bullet entered through the vehicle and where it kind of came to a rest where the bullet fragments were.
And so the trunk is that darker area on the right side of the image?
Yes.
And then MC50?
Just more bullet fragments that were found on the front passenger side floorboard.
And then MC51?
So those are going to be 2 deformed bullets that I found in that black weather stripping that was a part of the front passenger door.
And that was where the window was beginning to fragment that you described?
Yes.
And did you also attend an autopsy for Tatyanna Zech?
Yes, I did.
And do you recall when you attended that?
That would have been Monday, May 8th.
And, Your Honor, from the exhibit number 1, again, that folder labeled 7, Chevremont, there's a folder labeled Autopsy. There is one image within it labeled MC42, requesting permission to publish.
Any objection?
No.
Go ahead.
And now we have that MC42 image on the screen. And Detective Chevremont, what are we seeing here?
So during the autopsy, in the above the 23-0458, if you look straight up, there's going to be a deformed bullet that was recovered during the autopsy. And then just to the right of that, above the white box that says evidence, that was a fragment that was also found during the autopsy.